This video will show you how to replace the driver's side rear parking brake cable on a Pontiac Grand Prix. This will be located behind your driver's side rear wheel. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. The first thing we have to do is safely raise and support the rear of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. Once you've done that, we're going to remove all 5 of our 19mm lug nuts and remove the wheel. Once we've removed that driver's side rear wheel, we're making our way under the rear of the vehicle. Under the suspension here, we can see our driver's side rear emergency brake cable. It leads over this way towards the center of the vehicle. This is where we'll start. So as we look in this area, we can see the adjustment point for our emergency brake cable system. We have a 16mm mounting nut here. I'm going to be holding on to my left rear cable along this metal point here using some locking pliers. And then I'll be turning the adjustment nut clockwise, bringing it out and away until it separates. Got some locking pliers and my 16mm wrench. This is a lot looser now. I can turn it by hand. There we are. We have the cable separated. We'll give the adjustment point a thorough inspection. You do want to make sure it's not rotted. A little bit of rust is okay, but this should be able to spin, and the threaded portion needs to be in good condition. This does look good. I'm just going to remove my locking pliers. We can set those aside. Now, as we follow the cable in towards the subframe bracket, if you were looking at the cable itself, in this area, you're going to find the cable has some locking ears. They're fairly difficult to see while it's in the vehicle, so I'm just going to show you on the brand new cable. So as we look at this cable, I'm rotating it so you can see each one of those locking ears. Those locking ears need to be squeezed in towards the center, and we can slide the cable out and away from the bracket. So to squeeze in these ears, you can do it with several different tools. I have an emergency brake cable release tool. For this tool, I'm just going to slide it over the cable. It's going to squeeze in on those ears, and I should be able to slide this out of position. Now, if you have a hard time squeezing in on all 3 of these ears and pulling them out, since you're replacing the cable, you could just carefully break them off using some cutters if necessary. Try to come up and over this. Let's see if I can squeeze in on those ears. We can see the ears on the cable now. I'm going to slide this right out of the bracket. Now at this point, we're going to be following the cable all the way towards our rear caliper. So as we look at where the cable leads onto our caliper, it goes through this bracket here. The cable itself has the same 3 locking ears, except these are inside of this bracket and pretty much impossible to reach in and squeeze. So what we're going to have to do here is just carefully start driving that cable out of position. This is fairly easily done using some locking pliers on the metal portion of the cable, and then we'll tap on those pliers with a hammer, pulling it out and away. You can see that starting to separate. It's exactly what we want to see. Now you may find you have to readjust your pliers as necessary. So now as we look at this, I can tell that my cable did separate. The area with my locking clips is still inside of this bracket, and I need it to be removed. To remove this, I'm just using a hammer and a small pry bar so I can get into this area, and I'm going to tap it out of position. There are 3 locking tabs on this. We just need to break them. I'm just going to grab hold of this with some long nose pliers. Continue sliding it out. Now as you can tell, my metal clip is out of this area. I need to try to pull my cable up and through this metal bracket. Up along the top area, there's a small slot for this to fit up and through. Now this metal clip may potentially get in my way. It should actually be on the cable here, which would give me a lot more space on the cable itself to slide this out. If it does become an issue, I'm just going to cut it out of position. Just attempting to press that metal piece back onto my cable. Now I'm going to be using some long nose pliers. I want to try to lift this cable up and through the slot. Looking at the bracket, you can see that there's a slot along the top of it. You can either use your long nose pliers, you can use the cable itself, whatever's easiest for you. Now as we look closely, we can see the end of the cable inside this portion of the caliper bracket now. This does have a small slot up along the top for us to bring the end out of, and then we should be able to remove the entire cable. I'm going to continue on with my long nose pliers. And there it is, friend. Now, prior to installing our brand new part, of course, we want to make sure we clean and inspect our mounting area, so I'm starting at the caliper. I'm looking at these two brackets. I'm going to clean them up with a wire brush. These look good, so we'll make our way towards the bracket on the rear subframe, clean that as well. Just make sure it's not rotted and weak. So now we're just looking at the adjustment point. We'll clean that as well. Now it's time to install the brand new driver's side rear emergency brake cable. We'll start with the caliper side. As we bring the cable into position, we're going in between the two control arms back here underneath our rear strut. We'll bring the end of the cable up into its proper mounting area. And now we have this other portion of the cable. This will slide up and around the back side of the bracket, up over the groove, and then slide down and in. You can use your long nose pliers if necessary. Typically, you should be able to do it by hand. Now we can align the end of the cable with the bracket. We have our 3 locking ears on the cable itself. Just slide it in here. We'll make sure it's secure. Once you feel as though you have it in place, give it a tug. Make sure it does not easily fall out of place. Now we're going to be bringing the cable underneath our control arm here. We'll have to slide it through the bracket port on the rear subframe and out and through the far side. Now I have this aligned. I'm going to press it through, make sure each of my locking ears is properly installed. It's through. A light tug, it does not slide out of place. Now on the threaded area, I'm going to be using some anti-seize. We'll have to get it in place with our adjuster here. The adjuster can spin inside the bracket as it needs to. Everything's in good usable order here. We've already inspected it. So I'm just going to go ahead and start this on by hand. Now as I start to tighten this, I want to try to tighten it approximately the same amount as where it was as when I had removed it. So I'm just going to go up the threads, and then of course we'll make our adjustment in the end. Okay, I'm starting to see the cable end coming through there. As I was making my initial adjustment here, I was carefully pulling on the adjustment portion towards the driver's side, and I was screwing this in. Eventually, it got taut. Now, what I was looking for is to make sure that the cable is not hanging down in any way. It should rest up against the subframe. That means I've removed any slack from in between the two cables. Now, at this point, this does not turn any further by hand. I can still make adjustments with this as necessary. Let's just pay attention to the far side of the cable where it connects to the caliper while I pull down in this area. We want to make sure it does function. Let's install our rear wheel. Once you have your wheel in place, start on all 5 of your 19mm lug nuts. We'll bottom them out. Get the wheel back on the ground and torque all of them to 100 foot-pounds. Now that I have the wheel back on the ground, I'm going to be torquing each one of my lug nuts to that 100 foot-pounds in a crisscross manner. Torqued. Okay friend, we finished the installation of our driver's side emergency brake cable. Now of course the next thing you want to do while we have all wheels on the ground is test the functionality of the emergency brake. We need to make sure it's holding along both rear wheels. Aside from that, go ahead and release that emergency brake and take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.